you people can see my screen slide.
Yeah, we can see it, Professor.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Imran Aslan. My topic is going to be on innovative prototype production technology and its impact on the tuber quality. This paper is a co-paper. It is written by 3 of us, headed by Professor Barbara Sawicka of Poland, and it's me, Uma Chandran, and then Piotr, who is also in Poland. We 3 have gone in with this evolution of this paper presentation. Coming on. Yeah. See, the progress, if you see on potato production, potato is almost like a common man's food. It's not a rich man's food, it's a common man's food, but it is also a luxurious food. Rich people take it as in different forms like chips and dried forms, whereas people in poor countries take it as a staple food. Their living happens by eating potatoes. Many countries in Africa and in other impoverished countries are still using potato for their life. But this potato production is dependent on 3 aspects. One is called the biological aspect, the second is the technical, and third is called the technological. We are going to see all this, but in a concentration where emerging technology is going to be used. See, if I'm going to use this technology for biological purpose, it is, if you have it for biology, it is new, it has better quality, and it is a thing which can go into the habitat where you can grow it and use it. It's a sustainable living process. So you need not go and buy, you can create it, you can plant it and make it blossom in your own gardens or in your farms. The technical things which are affecting this are the machines and devices that are used for production, for potato production. And the technology is where how to improve or increase the cultivation that is going to be hampering this potato production. We are going to see all these 3. Now coming on to the factors. See, factors for a farmer. A farmer is the poor person who is on a sustainability, using his means for farming and making a produce and then selling it out and getting. But this poor farmer has no influence on the climate factors. He cannot control the climate factors, and he has very small influence on the edaphic factors. That is, whatever he could try, that factors are very less. The biological factors are also limited, because if the seed is the one which is going to plant, he cannot know what is happening in the seed. So the biological factors is also a thing which is of a concern to a farmer. And the agro-technical factors, which is of greatest influence, because that is the one which is being facilitated either by the government or he is getting from the market and he is using it. So when people are all saying, this is good, then they use it. The influence largely, there are a lot of technologies that are influencing this potato production. Coming on to the breeding, because here we are seeing, if you want to increase the production of potatoes, you should have something called a new breeding technology. It's not planting a seed in the soil and then you get it. There are a lot of new breeding technologies like Talon, CRISPR, and you have genetic engineering, and then all these things go on for improving the agronomic profile of the potato. Talon is nothing but a transcription activator like effective nucleases. This is one kind of a method they have. Then they have the CRISPR, which is a clustered, regularly interlaced palindromic activity that happens with the breeding between reproduction of more potatoes. Okay. Coming on to the new technologies, what happens is, if you have improved nutritional value, then more potato will be consumed. If it is less resistance to biotic, if anything which can affect the production of potato, if that can be resisted, then that can also improve the yield and productivity of potatoes. And then abiotic stresses and increased yield that can facilitate production of potato are all happening. Again, coming here, we have something called GM potato. GM potato is something, a genetically modified one, which is being pushed all across the world, mostly into Africa, Asia, and other parts of the world. They are saying that this has a nutritional value, it has taste and appearance, and it is having a lot of starch quality, and it is having less of CAS activity, so that it can be easily sold because of a less cost. Now coming on to what can be done with the potato technology. See, the selection of cultivars. Cultivars is the one which you are going to put it in the soil so that from there the potato is going to sprout out. Then the certified seeds is another factor that has to be taken into account. It is not the farmer who is certifying. Somewhere an agrotechnologist is going to certify it. They are doing in one part of the world and it is being used in another part of the world, which may or may not be useful for the person or the farmer who is using it. Then coming on to the plant density, between plants, how much these potatoes have to be put in, and then the fertilizations, irrigations, then the scope of the plant itself. Every plant is unique by itself. It cannot be going by a formula. So there's a life in the plant, and the scope of the plant is also having its aspect, and then the mode of harvesting and the preparation of sales. These are the factors that are described as accessible or a safe technology that can be used for potato growing. Now, coming on to the cultivation technologies. There are many cultivation technologies like narrow striped or broad rupture. This is what is a normal way our farmer does for potato. But what we are going to see here is tram lines, bed technology, and semi-ridge technology. Coming on to the tram line. Tram line, what they do is they avoid compaction and deformation of ridges. When you want to plant a potato, around it you have to have a kind of a compaction so that the plant grows in a straight form. You see the picture which is being shared here. So you will know how the potato farming happens on a straight line. But when you are going to have plants like that, you should not press it too much so that the potato grows in the roots. So you should not press it too much, and the mechanical damages should not happen there. This is the tram line where you can have more productivity. And the second aspect is called the bed technology. Bed technology is, can you see this machine which is creating a kind of a bed, over which you are going to plant the potatoes, and then you will have access to go around and cultivate. You can do the harvesting and all those stuff. Okay, this is the bed technology. And the third is the semi-ridge. In the earlier first one, we saw a ridge. Now it is semi-ridge. One side it will be ridge, and another side it will be a kind of a bed, so that you have more plants growing up. So this kind of a semi-ridge has a lot of benefits. What they are saying is you take into account the soil and the climatic conditions, improves productivity by 30%, and effectiveness of new technology is because of the mobile unit. You can have your units moving around to take the harvesting part and all. So all these things are facilitating production and potatoes. This is again a farm semi-ridge only, where the high yields and high quality of products we can obtain. We can have a better control on weeds, pests, and diseases, and then using modern equipments and polluting pollutions that affect the environment can also be taken care. Coming on to the new aspects. See, earlier we saw potato was growing inside water, soil. Here we are going to see hydroponics. It means potato will be grown under water. This is the place where you are going to see potato getting onto water, where you see you have the plants in the top above a plant, and then below which you have water, so that the roots are always in a position to have water. Cultivation of plants and water media production in artificial home conditions. This is where the new technology has gone. It's a hydroponic assignment, where you have light on the top. You can have an overflow. If it goes more than the plant, you can get it back. Then you have a tray to collect the water. Then you have filling pipes to fill the water. Then you have mixing tanks so that you can add the nutrients and your fertilizers, etc. And then you create a better solution, and then you pump it up to the grow tray. So this is the hydroponic. In place of soil, you use water to make potato grow. When you use this kind of a method, the elimination of soil and allergens. If soil has allergens, that affects the production, potato production. These things are avoided here. Even in small place, you can use it. You can use it to control the root ball. You can shape it properly, and then extended periods of watering can be avoided. Reduce the frequency of transplanting, and handling the humidity, etc., can be done in a nice way. This is what is the benefit of hydroponics. In addition, you can get high quality speed of a seed material. Harvest can be repeated. You need not wait and you need to dug the soil. Here you need to get it only from the plant in water, and you can easily pluck out. Young, small sized can be used, because if you want to use more of consume young potatoes, more potatoes, you can do it. And agricultural yield is not produced above the surface, so don't worry about it. Whatever nutrition you're giving, it is given directly to the potato. So that's the benefit of a hydroponic. And then the next concept, which is called the aerophonic. We saw it in water. First we saw it in soil, then in water, now in air. This is called aerophonics. If you want to grow potatoes in air, then what you have to do is, this growing a plant in air or fog without the use of soil or other dense material is the concept on which this is worked. Aerophonic systems use less water. It's just sprinkling is enough for the plants to get water. And the platforms on the top of the tank is better enough. It can close, and it's a greenhouse effect. So you can protect it from the natural calamities. The aerophonic system, you see the person who is walking down in his garden, he has plants on both the sides. So the roots are visible. He's creating a nutrient air circulation so that the growth happens. If you see the bottom picture, you can easily see where the potatoes are growing, and you can easily pluck it. Okay. Yes, the difference between the other production to aerophonics is, if you take a potato, you can see dark spots. The roots are dark if it is in a aerophonic. In other things, the darkness will not be there. It will be light. And this is the main difference which you will have. And it is very effective as a cultivator. Here, you can control the diseases. Whatever is going to affect the plant or the potato can be easily controlled, because you can watch it. But if it happens anywhere in a soil, you cannot see. So this is the main advantage of this aerophonic system. Now, coming on, I'll be using another 3 slides to complete. The new technology, what we are adopting. The world has changed. Everyone has mobile phones, everyone has GIS and everything. So how farmer is going to use this science? Mapping of soil is going to be done. He can measure its yield, and then he can use robotics to his thing. He can use drones to fly over his farms. He can do a satellite imagery and sit in his room and manage it. So there's a lot of things that can go in helping a farmer become modern. So here, the GPS of sensing and dosages at a right system on a control system, you can do as in a virtual condition. It's not like you have to go. You have facilities or drones or robots to go and help you out in your farming activities. Tracing, tracking, and improving performance are all better for improving productivity, and better controls is where the emerging technology is going to affect. Coming on to this thing, the emerging technology has a wider inspection view, like the rooting depth it can measure. It can check water holding capacity. It can check your pH levels, the organic matter. The seed tuber can be visually seen. It can be fertilizers can be known how much is being put. Protection agents can be controlled. How much of water is being consumed. Everything can be done. This is where the DSS come. DSS, you have a protection for this growth, where the planting times you can have, the control losses you can have, the scheduling, how much time you should have, what kind of a hardware you're going to use, right row spots between plants, how much of a distance, and the soil mapping, so that you can think and work rather than going there and working. And the geospatial IT solutions like soil sampling techniques. You can take it, find out what is the soil strength, what are the ingredients in it, the nutrients in it, everything. Watching cautious for the yield, what is affecting, what is not affecting. Identifying through plant sensors. You can see through sensors how the growth of the thing and how it is being affected, the intensity, everything. Now coming on to the remote sensing. Farmer is going to be working in an office. It's not like he is going and toiling. He will have his practical work, but he can also do his thinking part. This is where emerging technology comes. The type, health, soil moisture, concentration of nitrogen, etc., can be done in an office space. Then multi-spread imageries. He can sit in a place and then he can watch around what kind of growth has happened in his farm. Observe the planting concentrations, the yield estimates, etc. These things can be obtained in a three-dimensional, not only in 2D. You can tilt and see how the real plant is happening, how the biomass is getting engaged with the cores and simpler resolutions of the images. And all these things can be as you are in a real time. You can sit and watch and get used to this emerging technology for your plant and farming operations. Thereby, you can increase productivity, yield, income, improvised technology, market expansions, everything. So farm prosperity for potato production is an activity management that can be handled through emerging technology. I think, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Krishna, for your valuable presentation. And the potato, they have an important place in our food sector and in everything. I think they are used, and you try to any kind of potatoes. I don't know whether they will be healthy or not. I think this question, maybe you know better than me. But if you have any questions, you can ask the Professor Krishna. No question from listeners. I don't see any questions. So, Professor Krishna.
No, next to me is my professor, Dr. Barbara.
My question.
Yeah.
Are they healthy? I mean, especially you introduced the genetically modified potatoes, and you used you mentioned about the potatoes without using the land, but using the water and nutrition. So, are they healthy? We can say that they can provide the nutrition, but are they healthy really?
Healthy per se, if you take a plant is not having a difference. It is only in the way how we use it. Like if you have a potato and if you boil and cook it and use it, it is always healthy. If you fry and use it, see, because all these mass productions are for making chips and other things. That is where the multinational companies are coming. Why do they want to increase the potato production? It's because they want more production for making crispy, fried chips. And these are the things for which they are trying. But you can use, anyone can use potatoes as a staple food. It's always a healthy aspect. How we use is the matter.
You mean the content and the production process, what they add after productions and nutrition they use, maybe they will affect the health of people, right?
It all depends. If they use some kind of a boosters, sudden boosters for making the plant grow faster, then this will have more fertilizers. If you have organic fertilizers, it's good. If you have inorganic fertilizers, it's going to affect. Okay, so that is where we called fried potatoes as junk food. See, the youngsters are having more of fried potatoes and Coke, so they spoil their health.
Yeah, I understand. Any question to Professor Krishna? If no, the next presenter, our presenter here.
You can have Dr. Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara is here. Professor Barbara, can you hear me? Hello. Now, the Professor Barbara, you can share your screen if you want. Her presenter. She will present sweet potato as an alternative to the climate change in Europe. Professor Barbara, yes, she already shared the screen. Okay, you can start your presentation.
Good morning, all. I would like to thank you for inviting me to your conference and wish you beautiful deliberation and successes. And my topic. The sweet potato, in Latin, Ipomea batatas, which has been domesticated in tropical America, is gradually becoming on the world major food crops. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, world sweet potato production exceeded 19 million tons in 2080. The main producers are China, Brazil, India, and the United States. The sweet potato is the seventh most important crop in the world and plays a significant role in the food security and nutritional requirements and millions of people in Asia, Africa, and America. This grade also has great potential for commercial use and industrial raw materials. Sweet potato has an important place in the diet of people. These species are considered an important part of the food security package for some countries in the world. All the plant parts of sweet potato are used as animal feeds. Production and area of sweet potato cultivation in the last 20 years. In recent years, a slight reduction in cultivation area and production has been observed. The share of countries in the global production of sweet potato in the world, China is the main producer on the world. Chemical composition of sweet potato. Sweet potato are rich in many nutrition such as starch, protein, vitamins, dietary fiber, and minerals, as well as other ingredients beneficial to human health, including flavonoids, carotenoids, and other secondary metabolites. That is phytosterols, chlorogenic acid, caffeic acid, and another substance of potato tubers contained, that is lutein and zeaxanthin. These pigments can prevent arteriosclerosis, some cancers, and eye disease. Sublapectins, potassium, an element present in the amount of about 400 milligram in one tuber, helps to lower blood pressure, the risk of coronary heart disease, and kidney stones and stroke. Vitamin B for depression and insomnia. Vitamin C supports wound healing, prevents degenerative eye disease. And introduction of sweet potato in Southeastern Europe. Climate change in the world, climate change in Europe. Europe is generally characterized by a temperate climate. Most of Western Europe was an oceanic climate with cool summers and cool winters. Southern Europe has characteristic Mediterranean climate characterized but warm to hot, dry summer and mild winter. And Central and Eastern Europe, including Poland, is classified as having a continental climate with warm to hot summers and cold winter. Climate change in Europe has increased the temperature about 2 degrees Celsius in European Union compared to the pre-industrial area. The rise in global temperature should not exceed 2 degrees Celsius to prevent the worst impact of climate change without limiting carbon dioxide emission that might occur before 2050. High average air temperature allows the cultivation of plant species in Europe considered to be exotic, such as sweet potato. Now sweet potato is already grown in many European countries, including Portugal, Spain, Italy, Greece, and France. This is important plant not only for southwestern Europe, but also for Central and Eastern Europe, where the demand for safer, gluten-free food and vegetarian diet is constantly growing. So there was an opportunity to diversify crops in this region of Europe. For sweet potato consumers, the taste criteria are the most important. The cultivars with orange flesh contain more carotenoids than cultivars with white or cream colored tuber flesh. The purple flesh varieties are very rich in diclofenic acid. The purple flesh cultivars of sweet potato are characterized by a high content of secondary metabolites, mainly vitamins and phenolic compounds, which help to prolong our life. For example, the inhabitants of Okinawa Island, Japan, eat purple flesh cultivars and live an average of 105. Sugar-free varieties have also been identified. There is a positive correlation also found between starch and dry matter content, and a negative correlation between starch content and protein, minerals, fiber, and sugars. Sweet potato is a functional food. In recent years, functional food has become more and more popular all over the world, which has an additional documented impact on human health. This food helps to reduce the risk of developing civilization diseases such as obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. One of the ways to prevent the disease is food enriched with various bioactive ingredients as vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, which reduce the risk of developing civilization disease. Sweet potato is one of the functional food. Sweet potato is rich in minerals and vitamins. Lack of vitamins and minerals caused tens of thousands of deaths each year in Asia and Africa. due to serve vitamin A deficiency. Mortality in young children in developing countries is 16%. Subclinical death from vitamin I deficiency is over 20% in school-age mortality. The orange flesh of the sweet potato contains the most promising plant sources of provitamin A, but white or yellow flesh provides little or no vitamin I. Resistance, our cultivar to drought stress, is a very important theme. In genetic research of particular interest is the stress-regulated protein, which was isolated from DNA. The gene is 15% identical to the cold acclimation protein from Triticum aestivum. This prompting the use of the gene stress for genetic engineering of sweet potatoes. Very important is to resistant of sweet potatoes to drought stress. Cultivation of Ipomea batatas plants is unfavorable environmental conditions depends on the plant's adaptation to stress and physiological and metabolic changes in their endogenous development system. Sweet potato is commonly grown in marginal land due to relatively very high tolerance to abiotic stress. Drought stress inhibits crop yield and diversely affects the expansion of sweet potato cultivation. Improving drought tolerance is essential to adapt sweet potato crops to environmental stress and increase productivity. Improving the traits of sweet potatoes is conventional breeding is limited by labor-intensive genetics. And introducing sweet potato in Poland. In my country, research on the introduction of sweet potato has been conducted for over 20 years. I got the first Kananua variety from my PhD student from West Guinea, one tuber. No. Since when we have studied more than 10 cultivars, including with white, orange, pink, and purple flesh. In Polish conditions, variety origin from Israel are the best, but we also study Italian, American, Canadian, and Japanese varieties. Allow the yield in not comfortable to the American varieties in experiments is already middle and shows high nutritional and energy value. That is field experiments with sweet potatoes in Poland. And yield of sweet potato in the world, the most yield is in Australia and New Zealand, and the least is in Oceania and Africa. Sweet potato biodiversity. We have in our experiment 10 10 cultivars about yellow, cream, white, orange, and violet flesh. And conclusion. The high nutrition and energy value of sweet potato with antioxidant, anti-cancer, anti-diabetic, anti-inflammatory, and resistant to climate change properties was interested in the species in Europe. The sweet potato can be a food security plant for farmers as well as a commodity plant. Currently, orange varieties are promoted due to the high content of provitamin A. The distribution of sweet potatoes varieties in Europe will have a direct impact on the biodiversity. The introduced varieties will directly contribute to increase the productivity and economic effects in conventional and ecological agriculture system. This will increase the availability of material for various high quality products with health benefits for consumers and economic benefits for products. And added value to European research and innovation. The added value of sweet potato research is given Europe access to both genetic base and building partnership through a network of research institutes and universities focused on organic farming system. New pest and disease-resistant genotypes of Ipomea batatas must be obtained. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. I think this is very important farming product because we have droughts now in Turkey, and we have low water. Actually, we have low rain now, and I think in Turkey we should consider also sweet potato because still we use mainly the traditional potato, but sweet potato is not very common in Turkey, and hopefully that we will use this opportunity. So, any question to Professor Barbara? Just you can raise your hand or you can directly talk if you have any questions to Professor Barbara. Can you, any question? No question?
And thank you.
If no question, we will go to the next presentation. And what is this? Do you think this one is better than the traditional potato, Barbara? In which way it is? This potato is better? Nutrition, stress to drought.
Nutrition, I think, but is important is nutrition in sweet potato.
More nutrition.
And resistant to drought.
To drought, okay. And healthy, which one is healthy? This one or the traditional one? You said it's better for diabetes, for the
organic system in Western, but in traditional too.
Ah, okay. Okay, no questions. So they sent your thanks to you from some listener. They send thanks to you in the message. If no question, we will go to the next. Any question?
Hello, please. Yes.
Yeah, you can ask your question direct.
Okay.
Yeah, Peter Okoro.
Yeah, I want to know more on the variety, the apomodine variety. That is the orange fresh sweet potato. So if it is preferred to other ones in terms of micronutrients, Thank you.
Professor Barbara, have you understand the question?
Yes. Orange potato, orange flesh in sweet potato is very good for our nutrition, but the cultivars have much provitamin A, but is very important for children, for age 2.
Okay. John Peter Okoro. John Okoro, can you hear me? John Peter Okoro, okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Answer?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did you get your answer, Barbara?
Yes.
No other question? So we go to the next presentations. If no other question,
Okay.
any other presenter from Africa, South Africa? Aden Tunji is here.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you can share your screen and you can start your presentation. He's from South Africa and he will present scope in review, Adherence in TB journey. It is challenges and sustainability. So please start to your presentation if you can, Akrin, share your screen. Okay, we can see your screen now. You can start.
Okay. Okay, good day, everyone. I am presenting on a scoping review that says adherence in TB journey, the challenges and its sustainability. The purpose of the study, the purpose of the study is to explore factors affecting medication adherence, the challenges being faced by patients, and its sustainability approach. We are considering the component that affects medication adherence in this study and further underlying issues that hinders adherence over a long term. When we look at TB patients, we only see few things that makes them not adhere to medication, but there are other underlying issues that we need to consider, and that's what this study is about, and how we can use the existing literature to help in identifying issues constituting medication non-adherence. The objective is to review and interrogate the usefulness of existing literatures on the elements that constitute medication non-adherence, and to explore the elements for long-term TB adherence to medication. From the introduction and background, we could establish that tuberculosis is an infectious disease. It is curable, but remains a significant health problem due to medication non-adherence. There have been so many work done to make sure they cure TB, people get healed, people that are infected with the disease. But the fact that they don't adhere to medication, they do not adhere to their medication, there's always a problem of not being healed, and the problem, the sickness still persists. About 1.5 million people have died from TB. That is from for the record of the year 2020. And also in the year 2020, it is recorded that South Africa is also part of the countries that has a highest number of TB cases. Other countries include China, Indonesia, the Philippines, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Bangladesh. So based on South African statistics, it is established that people living with tuberculosis, most of them are undiagnosed and untreated. Some of them, they don't even know that they have TB. And this is part of the problem that we have in South Africa here. Around 80% of South African population is infected with tuberculosis bacteria. The number is increasing and some are even latent TB. The age group, between the age group of 30 and 39 years old are the people that are mostly infected. These are people that live in the suburbs and rural areas of South Africa. They are primarily infected and they have the estimated amount, a big percentage of 88. Tuberculosis is a top cause of death in South Africa. And according to record of 2029, 58,000 people died from tuberculosis. And 36,000 of them were also HIV positive. So it is established that TB is a leading infectious disease killer and among the top 10 causes of death worldwide. Medication non-adherence is fundamental because all efforts to stop it has not been successful. Methods that has been used to cure TB include self-monitoring programs, telephone follow-up. All these are ineffective in reducing medication non-adherence. And WHO, World Health Organization too, has done a lot of work in controlling TB, but it remained uncontrolled due to non-adherence to medication. From the review carried out, factors contributing to medication non-adherence in South Africa include socio-economic factors, behavioral factors, patient-related factors, healthcare system problem, treatment complexity, lack of knowledge of the disease, and treatments. Also, the self-monitoring program, medication non-adherence is costly, is multifaceted, and common issues that causes mere treatments because people there's no funds to help people in developing countries, especially. Moreover, non-adherence is hard to measure precisely, and the solution to stop it or to curb it has been very, very unsuccessful. So, from the review carried out, factors that affect medication adherence include patient-related issues, which are age-based, gender-based, ethnicity, which has to do with culture, with belief, people's belief here in South Africa. There are issues that are related to patients that makes them not to adhere to medication. When they look at the situation that surrounds them, some of them, they are abused, they are abused people, they have psychological stress, and they are also depressed. When people are in this state, they will not adhere to medication. Also, structural and economic issues. This is very, very difficult to assess among people because non-adherence takes place among people that are poor, people that are homeless. Most people that are in the villages, they are unemployed. They don't have a source of income. They don't have anything to do. And ineffective economic supports make life very unsafe for people. And so this brings about non-adherence because they don't have means of taking care of themselves. Healthcare delivery problem. When we look at our healthcare system, the organization is not in order. There's lack of communication to patients to come for treatments. They don't get the necessary information they need. There are lack of expertise, inflexibility in the operating hours. They are part of the things that constitutes to medication non-adherence in TB patients in South Africa. There are also behavioral issues too. When we look at TB patients, when they go to healthcare or healthcare centers, they have issues of satisfaction. There are no proper relationships which are challenging to people. Healthcare workers are overworked. There's lack of knowledge about TB. Staff are inadequately supervised. All these things bring about a lot of burden on the healthcare workers, and so also it affects the patients as well. There's complexity in treatments. When people look at the period of time that they will engage in taking medication for the treatment, they feel so burdened within them, and they feel like they have to stop because they could not cope with the treatment period. Also, when we look at the knowledge towards TB, a lot of people that are infected with this disease, they don't really have the knowledge of what TB means, what it could do to them. They don't know that it could be treated. The time of treatment, the lengthened period of treatment is also a problem. They don't have adequate knowledge. They don't have understanding of the treatment procedure too. And TB patients, they stop treatment once they notice that they are getting treated, I mean, they are getting healed, or they are seeing a sign of they are being cured, sort of. Meanwhile, until they complete the dose for the specified period of time, they will not be cured. But some of them stop treatment because they feel they are being cured. And that one also is part of issues that contribute to medication non-adherence. The method we use in the study is a scoping review, and we search some academic databases online to get some articles that we use for the study, which range from the year 2000 to December 2020. And here is the breakdown and the analysis of the articles used to get the data that for the presentation. Now we are talking about TB patient pathway. This is about the TB journey. When we look at TB patients, they have to be diagnosed at the initial stage. Immediately a patient discovers that they are sick, they will go to the clinic or to the nearby healthcare center for treatment. So a disease such as TB requires long-term treatment that cannot be measured just by refining diagnosis and treatment adherence in healthcare centers. The first thing that has to be done is healthcare system is needed to be to alert patients of TB symptoms. When there are healthcare systems in all the rural areas, everywhere, patients will be able, or people that they have symptoms, they will be able to go to the clinic and they will identify them as presumptive TB patients. That is at the initial stage. The next thing is to diagnose them. Once they go to the clinic at the early stage, they have the system with effective or efficient mechanism will handle them. They will diagnose them as TB patients. The next thing is they will instigate them for treatment, enroll them so that they will start their treatment immediately. Then if there's need for them to be referred for further checkup or for further tests, that will also be done. All these are done at the initial stage when they discover that these people are infected. And after this, there's also the process of treatment, which will be done at the healthcare. And after that, they have to move on to the medication phase, which is not part of what has been discussed in the TB journey here. The first stage that people will, the TB patients knows is the initial stage of identification, the second stage of diagnosis, the third stage of enrolling TB patients in the hospital for treatment. The hospital and the staff will provide support for them and care for them. But the phase where they are having issue is when they have to take their medication for a period of at least 4 months or 6 months, which is not included in what they already have knowledge of. So by the time they are no more at the health center, they are at home or wherever, for them to stick to the medication prescription, that is where the problem comes in. And they look at it that it's becoming burdensome for them to adhere to. So from this study now is making use of Iceberg Theory to analyze behavioral patterns that affect the patient in adhering to medication over a long period of time. 4 months or 6 months is not a joke for TB patients to take their medication consistently every day for that period. So this theory, Iceberg Theory, is defined as the intent of a writer not being noticeable from the surface. But most part is hidden under the surface. Using this approach, most factors contributing to medication non-adherence in TB patients are not seen at the surface, but they are hidden underneath the iceberg that should be explored. We need to look deeply into what is causing non-adherence in TB patients for us to provide a sustainable solution to medication adherence. That's why we are using this theory now to look into the factors that are contributing to medication non-adherence. According to Eisen, he listed that individual factors, physical factors, organizational factors, community factor, and societal factors. They are underlying factors that are contributing to medication non-adherence, which we explored in this study to see what could be done. Individual factor is referred to the tip of the iceberg. That is, okay, can I move on? Individual factor referring to the tip of the iceberg is just part of the factors with components and various elements affecting TB patients. There are other underlying factors that are not seen, and those factors are under the socio-environmental factors, which Iceberg will help us now to explore. Each factor is built on deeper components and elements that contribute to non-adherence to medication in the long term. For adherence to TB patients, more attention needs to be paid to the components and elemental issues facing TB patients. And we'll look at those factors deeply now. When we look at this diagram, the tip of the diagram is showing the individual. That is what, those are the things that we look at in individual, and we say that they don't keep to medication adherence. That is the first level. The first level says intrapersonal. And the issues relating to the person is the behavior or the lifestyle of the person that we see. They complain about complex regimen, their physiological states. You see, when they are stressed because of the sickness, they will not adhere to medication. Other underlying factors that are below the waterline, they are the level 2 interpersonal. That is the family, the friends, the relative, and the spouse. Are they supporting TB patients? Are they giving them the necessary help? Are they giving them the psychological assistance, the emotional assistance needed? When all these are not received, patients will feel depressed and they will stop their medication. Organizational factors are also listed here as the level 3. Level 3, we talk about the workplace, health organization, club and association, low education. When the society is not helping people, where the organization where they belong is not helping them, it's making them feel rejected and not welcome. They will not stick to their medication, and they will not take it, they will stop their medication. Our community too, necessary things that is needed in the community, is it provided for them so that they'll be able to access healthcare facilities, basic amenity, transportation, finances, unemployment issues, ethnicity. You see, all these things are at the community level, and they are also contributing to non-adherence to medication. Lastly, when we look at the level 5, that is the society where everybody belongs. We talk about infrastructure, health facilities, stigmatization. Society stigmatize TB patients. They don't have adequate knowledge. Government policies are not favorable. The societal belief about TB patients. All these things are making TB patients not to adhere to their medication because they are not welcome in the society. Society is not making things easier for them. And these are underlying issues that we really need to look into and see the way for us to build a sustainable approach to medication adherence. Here we now said adherence to long-term medication in TB patients is affected by many factors identified as socioeconomic, behavioral, patient-related, health facility-related, and complex therapy or regimen. These factors are further affected by other components from patient background, knowledge, social status, and societal components, which contribute to non-adherence in patients. Stigma-related issue is also very, very important, which make the patient afraid. Patient life experience is a major contributing factor too, where there's poverty, joblessness, financial problem, and unfriendly health workers. definitely TB patients will not adhere to medication. They will rather stay away from their medication. According to Iceberg Theory, all factors will be unidentified by the behavioral pattern. We will not be able to identify all issues that is contributing to non-adherence, but by carefully analyzing what underlying factors are and start by identifying each and then provide a solution that will be sustained. Treatment adherence should be maintained for the patient to be cured to avoid the disease developing into a more complex drug resistance situation. Understanding how these factors interconnect over a period is significant for improving the research program on discovering sustained health interventions. In conclusion, this article assessed the level of adherence in TB patients receiving medication for a long-term period. Although previous literatures have highlighted some factors affecting medication adherence, this study also revealed additional components and elements that constitute more to patient behavior to non-adherence. Hence, to provide a sustained support to TB patients, the components and elements that result in non-adherence behavior should not be overlooked. A sustained intervention can only be effective when strategies are developed to address these factors from the foundation and not only issues that appear through individual behavior. Thank you. Contributions and questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I think the adherence to the tuberculosis is a problem now. We have the same problem in the COVID times that many people, they don't adherence the medications or they don't care about the rules and this kind of things. So this, I think, is a big issue in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't adherence the medication and they cannot be cured well, and then this illness can come back again or can be worse, right?
Yeah.
So any question to the about these presentations? You can raise your hand or you can directly ask the question to the Rosa Adetunji about the tuberculosis adherence. Professor Dixon, you can ask the questions directly.
Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. I joined quite late, but on your last slide, I heard you talking about stigma and how we can use the Iceberg Theory.
Yeah.
So I just want to see the connection, what you presented on the Iceberg Theory and how it is related to fighting stigma.
Okay. What I spoke about on Iceberg Theory, let me bring up the slide. Iceberg Theory is talking about analyzing behavioral patterns that affect patients in adhering to medication. But when we look at Iceberg Theory, it states that we cannot see every factor, all the factors affecting behavioral pattern from the surface. We really need to look deep down onto other underlying factors that are affecting non-adherence in patients. That's where Iceberg Theory comes in. That is not only those things that we see from the surface that is affecting people from adhering to medication, but when we look deeply, then that's why we analyzed it further into this table or this figure here, that other factors that contribute to non-adherence includes stigmatization, because people in the society are being stigmatized. People with TB are not welcome. Once people get to know that it's a TB patient, they don't want to relate or associate with them. That is where stigmatization comes in. I don't know whether I've answered your question.
Yes, you have. A quick one, a follow-up. So
Okay.
how do we solve the issue of stigma against TB patients? What's your recommendation? Thank you.
Well, okay. My recommendation would be that we shouldn't label them or tag them as something that is not treatable. So far, TB is also treatable. So the society should give them that period to go through their medication phase so that at least they will be cured. It will not lead to other further problem. Because once they are not cured, we are stigmatizing them. They refuse to take their medication. They didn't get the necessary treatment. It will continue to expand. It will, the disease will be transferable, or how do I put it? It will be transferred to other people. So the society that we are stigmatizing these people, the problem will not be solved. Then the society needs to be reorientated so that at least these people, let's encourage them, give them the necessary support we can. Let them encourage them to take their medication so that they will be cured and the society will also be free.
I share your position. Thank you so much, madam.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Any other question? Any other question? If no, we will go to the next presentation. I want to ask to the next presenter whether they are here. Fadei from Nigeria, are you here, Fadei? No. The Maithili from India. Maithili from India, experimental study or mitigation of alkali aggregate reaction in concert structure. No here. Another presenter from India, Nandhini Natarash. Is he here? Nandhini Natarash. Nandini is not here, I think. Co-composting of facial/treatment plant/ with the municipal solid waste, not here. From Sri Lanka, Janar Hanan Jaya Gopal.
Yeah, sir, I am here.
COVID. So the Janat Hanan Jaya Gopal. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. I'm not familiar with your name.
Okay.
He will present the COVID-19 identification based on Keras DenseNet 201 architecture model using CT image. Is very hot topic actually now because we are in COVID time. So you can present your presentation.
Okay, sure. So, good evening, everyone. So I am happy and lucky being part of the beautiful perform for the researchers. I am Jonathan from Sri Lanka. So in my research topic is COVID-19 identification based on Keras DenseNet 201 architecture modeling using the CT images, CT scan images. So I am going to explain my research briefly. So in the first one, we know what is coronavirus and infection in your the majorly in fact in your nose and upper throat. The coronavirus can be spread from one person to another person. We already know that story also. It's majorly is diagnosed with a laboratory test like PCR test or antigen test or the chest scanning. But in the COVID-19 can lead to the respiratory failure, lasting the lungs and heart, muscular damage, and the kidney damage also. So in the in this image, it's a normal. This is a lungs image of a person affected by a COVID. But in this image, it's a normal person lungs image. So it's a healthy person lungs image. So in the accuracy of the COVID detection by the normal testing is relatively low. In our country also, there are relatively low compared to the compare the other advanced technology. So in the standard diagnosis method is a normal laboratory test by detecting for the virus nucleic acid by the real-time inverse transcription. So it's a PCR. At the same time, if you're using the DMO is like finding the pattern of the damages. And another one is a lab. So it is the same as the antigen test. So there is a shortage of experienced doctors or experienced guys to perform the medical examination of the increasing number of the patients. So every day, so in the everyday in the worldwide, the COVID-19 patients are increasing. So we need much of doctors or much of experienced guys to analyze and examine the reports. So in the normally then the clinical report, so 15% to 40% of the COVID-19 patients are wrongly identified as a non-COVID-19. So this is the major fact in here. So at the same time, these prediction methods are taking a lot of time. So if you, for an example, if you took a PCR, then it will be take too much of time to give the results, right? So that is a major effect in here. So and also the experienced pathologists and experienced humanologists are need to find the analyze the report. Right? So so in my goal of the project is we propose the automatic method to diagnose the COVID-19 to discriminate the geometrical structure of the COVID and non-COVID for the CT images. CT images we can get from the lungs, right? It's not lungs. It's not any other images we can get from the lungs images. We have used the DensiNet 201 model. This is the model. It's the free train model, but we apply the transfer learning technique. So transfer learning technique also, it's we can't, we don't have to train a new model. So it's already trained that models, but we apply those images to in that model. So then after that we fine tuning, and then finally we get the answer that the image is affected by COVID or not COVID. So that is the major part in my project. So in the we decided to obtain the higher precision rate rather than the other proposed method, which are predict to the use of small size of data set. So we know in the medical side, so the data collection is a very harmful process, very difficult. So we have the smaller size of data sets. So then if you have the small size of data set, then we take the higher precision. So that is the effect. So I use that similar data set. So in that data set,
dear professor, can you increase your sound? We have a sound problem. We cannot hear you well.
CT data set.
Now is good. If you can talk like that one, it will be nice.
Okay. Right. So in the Density 2001, so this is a model. It's a convolutional neural network that is a 201 layered deep. So you can load the pre-trained versions of the network trained on more than millions of images from the image database. So in the ImageNet, it's like a database. There are a lot of a variety of category images are there. So it's a millions images. Totally is a millions images, a big database. So then train that data to in our density net. So this is one of the model. So I use in that models for the Keras. So Keras also we know that one is a Keras is a API. So it's a machine learning, is a deep learning API written in the Python programming. So I call the Keras, use the Keras to load the DNS network in the DensiNet. And then in here, the network has learned rich features represent for the wide range of images. So there are a lot of variety of images are there. So then they learn from that features, from that images. So the network has the image input size in that model input size image is 224 pixel to 224 pixels. So width and height is same value. So 224 pixel. So this is the model I apply. This is the original image. So maybe this one is a COVID or non-COVID image. We don't know what is the image. But if we pass that image and then we use the convolutional layer. So in the convolutional layer, it's a major building blocks using in the convolutional neural network. And it is simple application on that filter to an input that result in the activation. So that is why using the convolutional layer. So after that, we using in this model. So we separate into two. We use the three different models, same model, but use different locations. So in the 1 and 2 and 3. After that, apply the density net, and then after that, we using the same convolutional layer and then pooling layers also. Pooling layers we used to reduce the dimension of the feature mapping. So in here I use the max pooling and average pooling. So and after that in the final one is a linear layer. So in the linear layer is a learning an average rate of correlation between the input and the output. And then finally the model find that input image is COVID image or non-COVID image. So this is the only for the test type of output with the corresponding image. So that the model is identify this one as a COVID or non-COVID. So this is the prediction level. So in the data set, so this is a COVID CT scan data set. That CT image, a patient infected with the COVID-19 collected from the scientific articles deposited in the this type of repository from 19 January 2019 to March. In that period, we can collect that images. Some hospital is donated by hospital. And then after that, in here, we have the total image, 349 images are there. We collect from the only 216 patients. So we know that if you collect any other medical images, then we need to concern from the patient, and after that, so this is a long process. So then we collect a few of images, right? So that is a process. So if you using the smaller data set, and then we achieve the higher precision. So this is in my thought in that major things in the project, in the research. And then it's normally it's similar to that. It's a right. And then in here in the database we have the different size of the images are there. Mostly two categories, two different size of the images are there. First one is 124 width and one is a height, and similar to this numbers 1485 and 853. And then after that we resize the 224 to 224. Why I resize this one? Because our model input is 224 into 224 input. So that is the reason to resize the database images. So I just take it into this one. So this is where it is similar image. So then I increase the size of the image to that number 224 to 224 pixel. But other category of images are taken too larger. So then I reduce that image into 224. So both. So now the resize the database. So every database images is the same size. So the width and height are similar to the model input size. Model input size. So after that, this is my process of the model. First one is a data processing. So in the data processing, the is a rotation and translation used for the data augmentations. So these are the processing in level, and then after that we apply the feature extraction. So in the feature extraction period, so we apply the convolutional neural network convolutional neural network models. At the same time, apply the DensiNet 201 model were used for the feature extraction. So that is the purpose we using that two models and convolution neural network, but we use that Densi model. In here, we use the transfer learning model. So in the transfer learning technique, so we don't have to train a new model. So we use that model, but train fine tuning using this in my data collection. And then after that, we use in the classifier training. So in the classifier training, we use the softmax function. In the softmax function, it's a binary classification problem, which class in our input being either 0 or 1. So in the 0 means it's COVID, or 1 means non-COVID. So it's like a binary classification. So we identify COVID or non-COVID. That is normally called as a binary classification. So that's why reason I use that the softmax function. And then also in this softmax function is give the probability for the each class label. So it's calculate the each probability. And then finally, it was taking the maximum probability of the class label. So it's fine, calculate the maximum probability of the class. So if you, for an example, if you put that input image, maybe COVID, so originally that image also COVID, and then system is identify the higher probability value is 0. That higher probability value is 0. And then after that, the model validation. So in the model validation, normally we use the 10-fold cross validation. I also use that 10-fold cross validation was used for the validation technique. And after that is a deduction part. So in the deduction part, so in that image was that images were stored according to their labels. So according to your labels mean either is a normal or abnormal. So normal means COVID, or abnormal means it's a non-COVID. So that is the detection part. We know, right? So this person is affected by COVID or not. So this is just because if you took the PCR, then it's 1 or 2 or some numbers of a few of number of the patient is it's easy. But it's a huge large number of people try to get the PCR, and then it's difficult. It's 1 day is not enough. So then it is in this method. This is my research, but it's in my research. If you one day we can get hold the lot of people to analyze who are affected the COVID or who are non-COVID person. So that is we can get the CT images, and then this is the training and validations lost. So it's a training validation lost in here. So it's blue. It's red points are denoted to the lost thing. It's a validation lost. And that and the training lost, and the green is denoted to the validation lost. So these are the graph in my research. So I using the Jupyter notebook to written the programming language in Python. So generate that report. This is the result. And then this one is a training and the validations accuracy. If you train that models and validate using that data, and then we can get this type of graph. So in this one is the red points show the accuracy of the training accuracy, very closer to the one. And then and that in that validation accuracy is denoted to the green color plot. So these are the up and down. So its marks are there. And this is the coefficient matrix for the COVID and non-COVID ID. So in here, I apply in the testing data. I use 74 images as a testing used to test. So in that, it's a true label, so non-COVID and the COVID, and the prediction labels is the COVID and non-COVID. In here is a 36 images for the non-COVID and then 38 for the COVID. So these are the original labeled. And then this is the prediction label. So in my system, so in my system is in this table is represent the precision and the resell and the F1 score for the COVID-19 classification. So this is the summary of the report for the COVID-19 precision rate and the non-COVID. So in here is a non-COVID, all the images are identified as a correct decision. So, but in the COVID, 10 is predict is non-COVID. So in the future, we will decide to increase that rate also. This is the average the accuracy in this one is F1 cross and supported to the all 74 images. So in the 36 is a COVID, and we used 38 non-COVID images for the testing. And then this is if you use I used the 74 images for the testing. So it's correctly identify everything is in this one is a precision rate for the COVID, and this one for the the COVID for 87%, but in the non-COVID is 100%. Is the overall accuracy in my system got 90.94%. So this is the summary of the result of time. So in the non-COVID is 36, and the corrected to identify each and every images are correct. So none of them is not wrongly identified. But in the COVID is 38, and then 28 is correctly identified, but 10 is wrong. So and then these are the true positive and true negative and false positive. So these values are denoted in the table. And finally is the sensitive and specialized percentage in here. So in the conclusion of my research, so we proposed a method of COVID-19 chest CT images classification based on the DensiNet. So we using that model for using the transfer learning technique for this in my data collection images. In particular, the method of COVID-19 images classification based on migration learning. So it's a migration learning can achieve the higher accuracy for the similar data. So that is the highlighted in the similar data. So some other research is there. If we use the bigger data set, then okay, we can get the higher precision. But if you're using the smaller data set, is it difficult to get the higher precision? So it's we train that model. So otherwise, if you use the training session, we put a lot of data. So otherwise, that model can't get the features, right? So that's a problem so that's the reason I used to select that type of DensiNet, the model. And then we used the Keras model using that API load that model based on the transfer learning, perform the better COVID and the non-COVID image classification for that similar data set in that data set. Here we used the less amount of data for the training. So in the training also I used the less amount of data. So 230 images I used the training and the validation. And the testing also I just using the 74 images in the total COVID plus non-COVID. So the model appears the higher accuracy rather than the wish models are already used to identify the COVID-19 and the similar data set. So and then the model shows 90.94% of testing accuracy only for the 74 samples, and the precision for the COVID and the 83% and the 100%. And his method is only for the Keras DensiNet 2201 architecture for COVID and the non-COVID chest images using the similar data set to higher performance comparatively for the proposed other method. So in the future, I will just increase the precision rate for the COVID. So now is 84, 85. So in the model is got the accuracy is 90. So then in the future, we will increase that the accuracy rate. So that is my research.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I think you have developed something very beneficial for the humanity.
Yeah.
Because we have the problem of the COVID detection. I mean, rightly, the increasing the accuracy of detection. The traditional test, I think they are about 70% precision accuracy. Your is about 90%, right, sir?
Yeah, accuracy is 90%, but it's a 73% for the COVID, if you identify the COVID.
So then, and how about the cost? The cost is, I think, is very low because you use technology, right? The machines or this kind of things.
Yeah.
So your cost is also lower than traditional methods, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you commercialized or have you started to use in any hospital in Sri Lanka?
No, still I am researching, but in the next year, maybe we'll contact the hospitals and implement it.
Yeah, if you can apply it slowly, I think it will be beneficial. So the Professor Dixon, he has asked a question. You can ask, Professor.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair.
Okay.
I think it's a very innovative study, and I appreciate the hard work that have been put into this study. I need some clarification. I just want you to tell me this. You use the Keras DenseNet 201 model.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I want you to compare this model with the CT-based radiomics model, which seems to have a lot of successes per the readings in the literature. So how is your model different from this radiomics model? I'm curious to know.
Yeah, so in this models is mostly the layer size deep layers. So at the same time, I use some fine-tuning layers. If you get the model, if you normally already that model is there, so I just remove some layers to increase the accuracy of taking the features from the images. So that is a
okay. Thank you, but I want to do this follow-up question. How many tests have you run so far? Because based on the results that you gave, you did mention that you ran 38 different COVID tests and 28 were correct, 10 were wrong, or?
Yeah. 10 is wrongly identified.
Yeah, so I would suggest that probably you engage in you run more tests.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
So because why I used only the 30 and 38 and 36 images, because in my data set also we have only the 344 images. So but is that model is a big model, so we need to training purpose we use a lot of images. So otherwise that models can't take any other features from that images.
Exactly.
So then because this is the image medical based image collection, so it is difficult. It's a harmful purpose to I just go to the hospital and then there are a lot of procedures are there. Then after that they collect that one. So the data collection is very difficult. So in the other areas, maybe if you collect any other leaf images or anything, and then we can use take it in the photos, and then much of data we can collect it. But in here is a problem in that one. So my research is maybe is go to the next level. Then I show this prototype, and then after that go to the next step. I then collect much of images.